Hey folks, how's it going? Just give me a second to set up. It's just me today. Ardley is out at a function. I'm going to put these windows up just a little bit. Perfect. Alright. So Ardley's, like I said, Ardley's at a function with a family friend, so you're not going to see her today, but it's me today. Hey, happy Saturday, happy fun Saturday. I hope your Saturday's doing well. I'm Aaron from Simon & Simon Art, and we're back on Saturdays. Well, we don't have something to do. It seems like we always have something to do on a Saturday, either event or whatnot, but today we have nothing going. Well, the both of us don't have something going, but Arlie has something going on. So I'm here at home, holding down the fort. I hope your Saturday's doing great and everything else. Before we get started, maybe I should turn on. No, because when you turn on the light, that lamp glares on the camera. Yeah, it's weird when you're trying to live stream. But all in all, everything is good. I hope your week was great. My week was great. Everyone's week was great. Hold on. I gotta also, let me just close this door. Yeah. So, I hope your week was great. My week was great. A couple of things. Simon & Simon's Art Summer Project is coming along. Right now, for one of our summer projects, we have Surfs Up, which is available on our website. So if you're into surfing and you want something for the summer, here it is. This is we actually use Red River paper to print our stuff on when we need to take a look at stuff. So, and in this case here, there you go. Perfect. We use the Palo Duro Baratai Fiber 300 paper. So, which is actually, it's like a luster paper. I know there's different types of luster paper, but this is one of their luster papers. Fun fact, luster is even used in for wallpaper, but it's a little bit different. So this has a little bit fiber to it. If you're interested in paper and printing paper, I say head over to Red River Paper. You can actually click on the link that's attached to this live stream and pick up whatever type of paper you're looking for. They use HP paper. They have paper for HP printers, Canon, and Epson. We have a Canon Pro 300 paper that we use to print on, and it's been great. A couple of other notes. I just wanted to show you how far I've gotten with the Shogun piece here. I'm not going to be drawing that. I'm going to be drawing something else that's part of our summer project. But I just want to let you know that I did something different with this one. Right? So, if I'll zoom in. Okay. So, I use a stipple technique. That's a little bit too far. For this one, for the shading. And I have to say, I actually like how it came out using this type of technique. So I'm going to keep going with this. The areas where I don't want the stipple to be in, of course, will be the neutral colors and everything else. And with the stipple, it'll be the shading and everything else. But this is where I'm at with that. I am doing a video about how this is coming along. So once it's finished, I will be posting it in parts so you can see how it comes out. And hopefully this will be something that you will want to put on your wall. One second, let me just fix something real quick. Perfect. Good. This will be something you want to put on your wall. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up, or maybe I can just check myself. I know I heard the music last time, but I just want to make sure that this is actually working. So just give me a second. If you hear a slight feedback, I apologize. I know I heard the music last time. Good. because I know I was listening to a podcast and how they were talking about they started talking and they were recording and they didn't hit the record button. I found that very funny. And they were like, darn it. And then when they went to the other person's studio and they started talking, they forgot to hit the button again and they were like, darn it. So, anyways, that's how it is. So, we have Shogun here. Loyalty here that I'm working on. Like I said, we're not going to be looking at that. We are actually, save. Going to be looking at this piece. Now, I did a rough sketch, so while we're discussing what we're going to be talking about today is the last episode. So, for those who watch X-Men 97, this last previous episode, we'll be discussing that, and then the last batch. Now, if you haven't seen those two episodes, I want to say maybe you may not want to listen. You may not want to listen to this podcast, or I'll try not to spoil it too much, but we'll get into it. So, before we do that, this is what we're going to be working on. This is actually part of our summer project. Now, if you're looking at home, can you tell me, what do you think this is based off? Type in the chat if you think you know what this is based off. If you don't, just say, I don't know. Or you say, does this look interesting? So, say yes if you know, or say no if you don't, or just say, I don't know. I'll give you a moment. So, for today, we're going to be talking about, like I said, X-Men 97, the last episode from X-Men 97, and then the last batch. Now, with X-Men 97, if you've seen it, you saw what happened to Genosha, you saw what Magneto was trying to do. Then we find out Magneto's alive, he's been captured, and then Valerie Cooper lets Magneto go. Now, the one thing that I think when she had a speech, I don't want to use too much of a speech because I don't know what I'm allowed to say when it comes to like copyright and stuff like that. So, to paraphrase, she basically tells Bastion, hey, humanity has done a lot of disgusting things throughout the years. Hence why Magneto is the way he is, because number one, Magneto basically went through two Holocaust events. The first one was, he was in a Nazi concentration camp, so he saw his parents die. And then to be involved in on an island, a nation where you have his fellow mutants, they can finally be who they want to be, and then he's been asked to lead that nation. He was honored to do so. And I like how Valerie says, so you're going to let a terrorist run a nation? And then he responds, well, your leaders are terrorists. Some of the leaders in this world are terrorists and run nations, but I don't see nobody stopping them from doing anything, which technically is true. If you put it into the real world, yes, he does make a point. I like how they use real world reference to that. Yes, there are leaders there that are in power that, if it was actually real, he has a point. In this case, though, since it's a comic book case, he has a point. In the Marvel Universe, there are leaders who technically are terrorists, but nobody does nothing to stop them. And then, of course, Genosha gets attacked, and there's a huge massacre. Like in the comic book, millions of people died. Millions of people. Mutants and not mutants, because you have to realize you have mutants whose parents are probably normal, but support them and went there. And they may have siblings with them. So it was a huge massacre. Of course, we see that Emma Frost had a second mutation and everything else. Now, skip over, you find out that Magneto lived and Bastion was grooming him for something, you don't know what it was. Valerie Cooper comes in, looks, and releases him. But she basically says, yeah, here's Charles Xavier trying to have mutants and humans coexist. Here's Magneto going down this path, basically saying, no, I'm gonna use violence because I've seen what human beings could do. Of course, when Xavier was presumed dead, he took over. He was trying to say, okay, my friend, you're the closest thing I have to family. I have to, as a brother, I will try it your way. And there were instances where he almost snapped, but he goes, no, I'm going to try it his way because he asked me to try it his way. He gets to Nilsa. You see all the deaths. He goes, no. He snaps. He goes, they will be avenged. Of course, everyone thinks he's dead. He gets free. Valerie Cooper basically says Magneto was right because human beings have done atrocities throughout the years and has not learned from their mistakes. And Magneto at the end basically said, enough. And he really just, and what he does is something that he does in, it was in an X-Men storyline, in all the X books. So that's X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, Excalibur, where they had to go deal with him because of what he does, and that was called the Fatal Attraction storyline. So, if you can, I believe Marvel is showing that it's called the Fatal Attractions storyline. So read that, and some of the stuff that he does in the X-Men '97 storyline falls into this. So, before I get back into that, let's look at this. So I did a quick sketch for our next to go for our summer project. So, can anyone out there tell me what it is that I'm doing? What from looking at the sketch, do you have a small idea what this might be based off of? Now I'll give you a second to take a guess. If you don't know, that's fine. Like I said, type it in the chat. If you know what it is, let me know. If not, that's cool, right? But I'm going to get into this as I start sketching. So, what is our summer project? So, me and Arlie, we are looking to broaden our store, and we're broadening our store in different ways. And one way we wanted to do it was have certain types of items. Now, like I said, we will be broadcasting a day when we're going to be showing these items, and me and Arlo, we set on a date in June. So we're trying to go for the first week of June to showcase these items for the summer. Hence why we're calling this our summer project. And this is going to be part of it also. So lately, as you know, I did Surf Up. When I was doing Surf's Up, I was thinking about, it brought me back to this anime that I used to watch in the early 2000s. I think me and Ollie just met when it came on. And they were surfing in the sky. So if I say they're surfing in the sky, you kind of have an idea what it is that I am talking about. And it was pretty much like a love story. This cartoon. This cartoon was pretty much a love story. A teenage love story. And I was going through it a lot because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do it. Did I want to include this board, and it's also the board that the protagonist used. Well, there's two protagonists, but he's the main protagonist that he uses. So I figured I start here, and then work from it, and see how it goes. Now, back to X-Men. So In the last episode, Magneto pretty much uses an EMP, uses his magnetic abilities to create an EMP which encompasses the whole entire world and shuts off all power. So electromagnetic pulse, because he's basically saying, I try to give you peace. I try to follow Charles Xavier and give you peace, and you went to war. You declared war. But now here's the thing. If you watched it, you saw certain cameos, and I was surprised at one character. He was actually, even though he said, "Yeah, I was with you until you decided to go the genocide route," and that was Doctor Doom, because just like Magneto, Doctor Doom was also part of a group of people that were being ethnically cleansed in the comic books because of who they were. So yeah, he understands Magneto and what he's doing, but I think they might have joined forces in the comic books once in a while. But like I said, I haven't touched comics in a while, and I'm not too sure. I should look that up before I started, but I didn't, so that's my bad. The one thing that, and then there was, let's talk about that first. The villains that showed up. So you had Doctor Doom, Baron Zemo. I think the female was, I want to say maybe she's the head of Hydra. I want to say Viper. I might be wrong, but I know she has something to do with Wolverine. She has a connection to Wolverine. So for me, but just, and they were all in for having this done except for Doom. Doom's like, yo, I was with you until you basically said you were going to do genocide, because he's not about that. And then Bastion says, yo, next time I send you a memo. And it's like, you don't seem to understand. War crimes is a huge thing, and Doom, the reason why he got away with a lot of stuff, because he really didn't do war crimes that I know of in the storyline. But he tended to stay away from it because he knows, yeah, even though I'm in the head of state and the UN respects me, as long as I don't do anything to commit war crimes, they're not going to come after me. Of course, during the Civil War arc, Doom did do something, and Stark went after him with the Avengers, because Doom's like, well, I'm head of state, what are you going to do? And they came in there and they arrested him and goes, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Not realizing I'm not dealing with the normal Avengers. I'm dealing with, this is Stark's, when they were like, he was trying to do it was the Civil War arc where he was trying to get all the heroes on board, but you had to give up your secret identity, but a lot of them didn't want to do that. So you had that. And Doom's smart. Doom knows, like, listen, I'm not going to be part of any war crimes, especially since the United Nations told Genosha, yeah, we'll vote you in as a nation and we'll see your sovereignty. And everyone was happy about that. And then the attack happened. So Magneto was pretty much basically saying, you know what? I'm done playing nice. Enough. So when he said enough and he did what he did, I don't blame him. He's like, yo, we had our own nation. We finally had peace. And then you had certain individuals who were like, nah, we're not gonna have peace. We're gonna do this and whatnot, and incite a war. Now, the look on Bastion's face when Magneto did the electromagnetic pulse tells me, like, oh, I did not expect him to do that. Or he had the ability to do that, which I think explains the next set of cameos. So, in one cameo, there are if you see the series, there are two people who are working in a sort of construction site. Those people were actually in the X-Men series when they did Days of Future Past, and they were working with Logan or Wolverine when he's older, after the X-Men dead. At that point in time, it seems like he was the last X-Men. And then you see Rachel Summers, who's the Phoenix, and then you see Magneto's daughter Polaris in space doing her thing over the Earth, which makes me think she's probably trying to fix what Magneto did, so that they can have power. And then as the power's going out, I like that you see Spider-Man, right? Which, they've been showing a lot of different characters in the Marvel Universe there. So it's almost like the main Marvel Universe is there, but it may not be them. It may be, it's close to them, but we're making some slight changes. Which, to me, I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. You saw Silver Samurai, which should be interesting, because now it's like you're setting up for next season. And then you saw Omega Red, which is set for next year, because the reason why I'm saying about Omega Red and Silver Samurai is this. So, in Fatal Attractions, for those of you who read it, something happens to Wolverine in that series. It's very brutal. And it basically does two things. Number one, it pushes Xavier to the edge where he goes, I've tried to reason with you, Magneto, but you've taken things too far, because his EMP pulse, even though he declares war, he also causes massive deaths. Because as you know, when you have an EMP pulse, you shut off electricity. Now, you may have people who are on life support and they need those ventilators. Without power, they die. So he actually does that in the storyline, and Xavier is like, no, I have to stop him. And he puts together a team to do it, because there are certain team members that can handle Magneto and there are certain team members that can't. So they go to this asteroid to take care of him, whatnot, and in the process, Xavier does what he has to do to stop Magneto for what he thought once and for all. Of course, if they do it that way, if they run the course that way, that also leads to another character that's going to come out. If they do it that way, they may not. I don't know what the Marvel execs, I don't know what Disney has in store when it comes to that, because it's been great. We may see this character down the road. We may not. I'm hoping that they do it, because it would be interesting to see how they do this, how they do that storyline, due to the fact that there are certain characters that let's just say because of this one character, the X-Men are pretty much hunted because of what happens and the sacrifices that are made to stop this character. They are pretty much hunted and hated because of it. And if they do go that storyline, that'll be great. Now, since it seems like Madeline Pryor is dead, I also hope they go with that other storyline that I heard about, but I never had a chance to read. And we'll see how that goes there. Because if that happens, if they go with that storyline, that would also be interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it, because it seems like they're drawing upon different storylines into one season, which is not bad. If you know how to, if you have good writers, you can pull it off. You can pull two or three storylines from the comics into one season and just have them meld in together. Which I believe that's what they're trying to do. And if it is, then Sorry, I was trying to figure out what my mother-in-law was saying, even though I don't speak Creole. But yeah, I believe that's where one of the two storylines is where they're going is maybe what we see next season. I do believe before the show writer was fired, he already wrote out season 2 and it was already done. I believe I could be wrong. I have to look it up. But yeah, that was interesting to see. It's going to be, I know the season finale is next week Thursday, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go about in doing that. Excuse me. Now, when it comes to the Bad Batch, I'll talk about that in a second. Let's just get to this. Right now, I had originally sketched this in different colors because what I wanted to do is I just wanted to sketch it in different colors just so that I can have an idea for certain sections. Like I said, this is based off something that I watched it was like 2003, 2004. So right now I'm using a blue color just to mark it out. Now you're probably wondering, hey, why I did this here? Because I'm not sure if I want to keep this board in front or not. So I'm just still sketching it out to lay it down, and then I'll do a final sketch later to see how it goes. Just putting the clouds in here and everything else. Oh, another interesting thing that happened today. So, after my black belt class, I was helping teach out because my Sifu was doing something, and a friend of mine, he was running a class, but I was helping him, and I couldn't really do too much because my lower back decided to say, hey, I know you wanted to go work out today, but guess what? You ain't doing nothing today, and it let me know we wasn't doing anything, but I was helping out. So I ran into a friend of mine, Sarah, today. She came by, she moved, she actually bought a house with her fiance, and her fiance worked with my wife when she was in the fashion industry, which reminds me, I have to tell her she has to do that video about her experience working in the fashion industry. I do have a video of my experience working in a textile industry, which I will put up later on. So, or you can go to our YouTube channel and take a look at that. It's just my experience working in the textile industry. So in the textile industry, I started off as designing designs for shower curtains. Then I went to home and fashion. And then from there, I went to where I'm in now, which is wall covering, which I find very interesting because each industry does something different. So when it comes to shower curtains, they do have vinyl, but the majority is always, fabric, right? It depends what it is. It could be cotton, polyester, polycotton, but when you say polycotton, depends on the percentage. Is it 50-50, 40-30, 60-30, those type of measurements. So it depends, and what type of cotton, vinyl, they do use vinyl, but it's more like no, they do use vinyl now, but when you want to print it for the client to see, now you can print on vinyl and show it to the client and have the client look at it and say, oh, okay, this is the vinyl that's going to be used. This is great. Wonderful. When you have fashion, of course, it's fabric. What type of fabric you want to use? How does it look? How much does the dye smear once it's applied? So there's a whole bunch of stuff to think about this. But like I said, you can go to our YouTube channel, and there you'll see the thing of my experience in the textile industry, and you can listen to all that there. I know I have to work with Arlie to have her do her video. Hope I might do it tomorrow or sometime this week, next week. I keep forgetting. I'm thinking tomorrow's Sunday. Don't think tomorrow's Sunday, Simon, because that means you're driving to work on Monday. So the Bad Batch. Now, I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a child. I remember my parents taking me to see The Empire Strikes Back. I know I was just born. I was just 1 year old when A New Hope came out. And I believe they took me to see The Empire Strikes Back. And then they took me to see The Return of the Jedi. I know that part. I know. And then I always saw the other movies in the movie theater as they came out. Now, the Bad Batch, if you don't know, you saw them in the Clone Wars. They did a couple of episodes in the Clone Wars, and they were basically a elite force with certain skills. So, if you don't know, all the clones came from Jango Fett, right? Who is the father of Boba Fett. Boba Fett, even though he's a clone of his father, he wasn't genetically altered. You know, he basically told the comedians, okay, I'll do this, but I wanted my child of my own that's not altered. And here you have Boba Fett. Now, Clone Force 99, they were altered with certain skills. So you had Hunter, who was more of, like his namesake, he can track. You had, oh God, I can't believe I forgot these guys' names. You had Echo, who was tech, who's all technical. You had, it sucks when you forget all the people's names. But let's just say they all had their attributes. One guy was strong, one guy was a sniper, so it was 4 of them. And then they brought in someone else who's part of the 501st. Right? He's the last of his squad. And he ends up joining them because, of course, yeah, he's, in his mind, he goes, yeah, I'm defective also because I have no place to belong. So you have this group, this mishmash group of clones, and you know they defect and everything else because they don't like where everything's going. They don't understand why they were ordered to kill the Jedi, but they didn't because their chips were defective. It turns out, their inhibitor chips, so they didn't kill the Jedi general they were working with. Even though the Jedi general died, the Padawan escaped, and the Padawan was actually who we know as Caleb Dune, who turns out to be, why am I having a brain fart? Caleb Dune's is his real name. I'm having a brain fart, but you know who I'm talking about. Man, I've been having a brain fart all day, especially getting home. It's like the route I would normally take to get home, I normally won't take on the Saturday because it's backed up, but because I didn't eat this morning and I haven't eaten up until I actually ate at 2 o'clock. That's the first time I ate today. So I try to fast during the week and on the weekends, but today I fat and then I was actually also sick. So yeah, my cognitive skills isn't up to par today. But anyways, so Kanan Jarrus. So Caleb Dune was the Jedi, that boy that they saved, who ended up growing up to be Kanan Jarrus. There, I'm glad I remembered. Because it would have messed with me forever. Actually, let's do this. I want to change the color for everything. Make you, let's make you yellow. So, Caleb Dune. So he was in the first episode of the Bad Batch. He was also in one episode of the Clone Wars. So I like how the way all right, you're gonna force me to do it this way. Fine, we'll do it this way. The way the Bad Batch ended. Certain characters got their comeuppance. Certain characters that you made, one character that you may have played in a video game. Of course, he died, but you know, it's messed up that he died. But hey, it happens. But the scientist, I'm glad he got what he got. Now with the Bad Batch, it's pretty much telling you what happens after the Clone Wars, those first couple of years, because from there you find out why the Empire decided not to use clones, because of course if you have the same clone, what happens? All you have to do is create a virus to wipe them all out. So they started creating stormtroopers, and this is when they start hiring stormtroopers. They start the stormtrooper recruitment, and they just start bringing people in to be stormtroopers. So that's that. With Clone Force 99, they had to break into the base because that's where Omega was being kept, and because of the M count, which I'm surprised that they actually used that. Well, I'm surprised they didn't use the full term, but they used that M count. So if you ever saw the Phantom Menace, they talk about the metachlorine count. So the higher the metachlorine count, the more you are able to use the Force, right? Now Omega, even though she had a higher metachlorine count, and when Asajj Ventress popped in, she was trying to train her, but she realized that, well, maybe she's not Force sensitive, but she does have a high metachlorine count. So they were keeping her safe but you know, like Asajj Ventress said, if I can find you, they can find you. But that's when they chose to, okay, we're going to move and whatnot. But of course, it was too late, and they were found out. So they had to break into the secret base, get Omega, and then get out of there. Now you found out they were also keeping other Force-sensitive children there. Which, you know, it's funny. There was one character that we all knew was Force sensitive, but the rest of them, it was like, oh hey, yeah, we know they're Force sensitive, but they weren't trained, so it was like, huh. So what are they capable of doing? I guess we'll find out later on. But the way the Bad Batch ends is that they get away, they end up going back to their home and staying there, and it looks like the Empire never found them, or maybe the person that was in charge never bothered to say, "Hey, let's put this planet on the map because we know that they were there before." But it sounds like they never went back, and Tarkin told you, cancel this project, take the funding for this project, and put it to Stardust, and we all know what Stardust was. Or it came out to be. So if you don't know what Stardust was, go watch Rogue One, and you'll find out what Stardust was. For those of us, we know what Stardust was. So go check that out. Now, a lot of people were hoping to see Echo, hoping that one character, that one trooper that was in the mask was Echo. Of course, sorry, it wasn't Echo. We never saw his face. Echo's dead. Even though Echo was the one who held the team together. He was the glue who held the team together. Because, why can I never remember these characters' names? Because one of them said, listen, Clone Force 99 died when Echo died. Which he's right, because he was the one who kept them all together. Without Echo, there was no Clone Force 99 because he was basically the brains, and he was the one telling them, hey, even though he wasn't the leader, he was the brains. he's the one who came up with the plans and stuff like that. Now, when the Bad Batch ends, we see Omega older. They don't really tell you how old it is, but I get the feeling that it's probably close to when... It's probably close to New Hope or during Star Wars Rebels. Because she's basically telling Hunter, oh, I'm going to go because the rebellion needs pilots now more than ever. Which gives me an idea it's either after the first Death Star destruction, or, which to me, I'm thinking that's when everything is going on. It's right after the Death Star's destruction. The first Death Star destruction. And Hunter's like, oh, we're trying to keep you safe, and this, and this. And she goes, well, you already kept me safe, and everything else. Hunter's old, which makes me think from looking at him, and then from looking what Rex looked like, I'm thinking it's either I'm thinking it's before the first Death Star destruction. Because I know with Rex, he looks old. Hunter, even though he looks old, he has his hair. So, and then some of the clones that you see in Rebels at that time, you're like, oh, they're old. So, or maybe it might be because of the genetic modifications that Hunter went through. Which makes me think about that also. So, of course, it would have been nice to have them all there so you can see what they all look like. But I think with Hunter and Omega, their final moments together, I think that fleshed well together, and not them all together. And I like the fact that she had Echo's goggles on the console there. Okay, what happened? She had Echo's goggles on the console there, which makes me think like she's always thinking about him. So, and she takes off on her adventure. So, in my opinion, I'm thinking one or two things when it comes to Omega. One opinion I'm going to go through is that the Empire finds her and it connects to the Rise of Skywalker. Or B, the Empire doesn't find her and she may end up dead. Because I don't really see Omega as a fighter pilot per se. I see her as a pilot, but maybe not as a fighter pilot. You know? Due to the fact that, when they train her, they always train her on assault shuttles and whatnot. And as a pilot, as a fighter pilot, I don't see her doing that. To me, it doesn't fit with her. But if it's like assault transport, something like the Millennium Falcon or the Ghost ship, or the Ghost, yeah, something like that, I can see her having some sort of ship like that, like the hero ship. And since she has her droid with her gunk, that should be interesting. I'm actually thinking about putting some music on in here, but I know I have to use music from Epidemic Sound because they have it set for streamers. Because if you put music that's actually out there, some streaming services will actually cut it off for copyright reasons, which I understand. But yeah, also realized that with Arlie not here, it's kind of like quiet. Ugh. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the Bad Batch. That I think that either Omega's going to end up dying or she may live and end up going back to that island. But in my opinion, because the way we see the rise of Skywalker, maybe Palpatine ends up finding her, or maybe Asajj Ventress finds her and she actually starts training her, and she actually starts using her abilities, that Palpatine ends up capturing her, and he's able to do what he needs to do. But, you know, it's like one of those wait and see games. Let's wait and see what happens. I know they said that Dave Filoni was making a series, which is the sequel to the Clone Wars. He goes, yeah, right now I'm writing it out. I'm fleshing out the characters and whatnot, because from what they're saying, the Bad Batch is literally the end of the Clone Wars era. That it's going to be the last. It seems like it's going to be the last series to deal with anything to do with the Clone Wars, because it pretty much was. It was a series telling you what happens after the Clone Wars, right? I would have liked to have gone 5 seasons, and so that we can see what's going on. But there must be a reason why they're ending it at the 3, or maybe that was always his plan, to say, okay, I'm gonna do 3 seasons of this and then work on the sequel. Because I grew up in an era where you didn't have an ending to a cartoon, right? I grew up in the 80s, and we really didn't have an ending to a cartoon. The only ending I can remember that we actually had an ending to a cartoon, even though they left it on the cliffhanger, was Exo Squad. They did leave it on a cliffhanger, and they never continued it, which to me, I was like, well, that's just dumb, because you left it on a cliffhanger and you never brought it back. So it's one of those things like, well, will they ever bring it back? Will they bring it back? Who knows, right? But that was one series where they could have just finished it off and it was done. Was there another cartoon series on TV where it ended and they didn't need to do a thing? To my knowledge, no, actually. Not that I know of, but I know Exo Squad was the first one I've watched, where the way it ended, they could have just ended it right there, but then they left it on a cliffhanger and it never came back. And Exo Squad was was the third cartoon at the time that dealt with death. It may not have been the third one I watched, but I'll go down the list. And I'm talking about cartoons that they broadcast in America on TV. Of course, at that time, we started seeing anime and we started seeing death. We're like, whoa, you guys are doing this? So, for American cartoons, first one was Voltron, because they actually showed 2 people getting eaten by a Robies, even though they tried to hide it. But I was like, oh, those 2 people got eaten by a Robies. And actually, they keep saying that the Drool fighters were robots. They were actually living people, so they would get killed. So, yeah. So that's one thing. That's one time they dealt with death. Actually, if you watch in the original Voltron, they dealt with death a lot, but over here they always change it. So you think, oh, they went to sleep and all this and that and whatnot. No, they dealt with death. That was the first one. The second one was Robotech, but it's called Macross in Japan, but it's Robotech. But they couldn't really edit that part out because people were dying left and right. They just edited how they died, so you didn't really see a lot of blood and gore and everything else. But in the original series, there was a lot of blood and gore when people died. And then there was, I want to say the cartoon was called Max. Alright. Pretty much this kid had a hat. The hat allowed him to go through different places. It was shown, they showed it on, and there was TV, there was toys about it and everything else. And they dealt with, it was on for 2 seasons, 2 seasons. They dealt with death. The final season, his 2 companions who were watching him died, using him for dying and whatnot, and he did something where he was able to reset everything. So that was another cartoon, an American cartoon that I watched where it dealt with death. And then you had Exo Squad, where people were dying left and right in there, but it wasn't like gore. It was like they were in spaceships exploding here and there and whatnot. So yeah, that was some of the cartoons I watched where you actually had to experience people dying in there. What else? I was going to say, I don't know why I'm talking about cartoons of death, but I guess because American and whatnot. But then, you had cartoons like, I know growing up, Star Wars did have a cartoon, but you had droids where it's just R2-D2 and C-3PO, and they had different companions throughout it. And you actually had the Mandalorian that was actually in one. That's how they set everything up in there, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so, yeah. Oh, you know what I came across yesterday? Mighty Orbots. It was someone actually had the first part of Mighty Orbots on YouTube. I was watching. I was like, oh man, Mighty Orbots. I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, oh wow. I said, this is pretty cool that this, they put it together, because 80s cartoons, I have to say, are the best cartoons, because they did things in there that you were like, whoa, it was just great. It was one of those times where everyone was trying something new, or doing different things, and they weren't afraid. And of course now, you can't really see cartoons on TV because on your regular channels, channel 2, well, wherever you're at, you can't see them on TV without having a cable box. So now if you want to watch cartoons, you have to have cable or some sort of streaming service. And you have to hope that the cartoons are good. I know the Adventures of Superman are coming back May 20. I want to say maybe the end of May. I could be wrong, but I want to say the end of May. And at midnight, so that should be good. And they're showing you Supergirl. I know I finally watched Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. So I found that to be very interesting. I like how they incorporated how the Flash, like if you read I never read the comic books, but I know in the comic books the Flash dies, right? To stop the wave. In this one, what he does is he slows down time for him and Iris, and I'm hoping everyone saw it already because it's been out for a couple of months. I just happen to wait. I tend to wait for it to come on Max before I buy it, because I'm like, why do I buy it when I can watch it on Max, right? And he slows down time for him and Iris, so everyone is moving. How can I put it? They're getting older, but everything is moving slower. So that's how we do it, so that this way they can complete the machine, because he realizes that's the only way they're going to do it. Of course, Iris dies of a heart attack, and then Barry, he completes the machine himself. Amazo ends up dying because Amazo was helping him do the machine. And then Barry disappears. It seems like Barry dies, just like how he would have died during Crisis on Infinite Earths. The one thing they don't explain is whether Wally has his super speed, but he's there. But it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good. Um, the one thing that I would say about it is, I know everyone puts their twist on it, but I'm curious how they're going to do the Supergirl angle and what happened at the end. Now that I'm curious to see. I know they've been posting stuff online, people have been posting stuff online about what happens and everything else, and I like what this version of Batman did with Dick Grayson. So this version of Batman took Dick Grayson to a orphanage, because he goes, I don't know how to raise this kid. But even though Flash was saying, hey, you know, this kid feels comfortable with him, you should look at him, he goes, why? He goes, he's just a distraction. He goes, no child should be in this. And from looking at the some of the videos, you see how he feels, and then you see how, you know, they feel about it. It's like very different. It was like a very like, here's one Batman goes, yeah, I would never put children in danger. What the hell was your Batman thinking? And then but they never show you the Batman from that universe, because of course they said he died. Like, what was he thinking? Like, and whatnot. I know they did a comic story where the main Batman from the universe was jumping, and he actually meets Adam West's Batman. And, you know, Adam West's Batman gives him stuff and everything else, and then when he ends up in an encounter with a shark, he looks in the utility belt, and he goes, shark repellent, and he goes, I finally met a Batman who's more prepared than I am. Because he would never have thought to use shark repellent. Which tells you everybody is different depending on in the multiverse. That's what they were trying to say. Like, this Batman may have thought of something you never thought of, because you would have been like, yeah, I would never do that, or I'll do this. So it was interesting to see. Let's see. Alright. So it was interesting. So, to recap, X-Men 97, the last episode for this season is next week Thursday, so let's see what happens. Let's see if they follow the Fatal Attraction storyline or they modify it. As for Star Wars stuff, I know Tales of the Empire is supposed to be coming out, which I like that. I like the fact that we're now getting what's happening on the other side of the story, not just the rebel side, but now you're seeing it from the other side. I don't know who's the voice character. I don't know if Diane Inosanto is going to be doing the voiceover. It sounds like it's her voice, but I guess I'll have to look it up and see, because I know her character's in it, and Barris something is the other character. She plays one of the sisters. So I guess we'll see about that. But all in all, yeah, this has been a good season for storylines. But 1 second. Hi. Okay. You gonna take the clicker?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so it'd be one of those wait and see. Let's see what happens. Let's see what good content comes up. I like comic books. I've have to say I've never had the chance to go back to collect, because when the one job I used to work at in New Jersey, when I took the bus home, I would usually go to Midtown Comics to buy my comics and books and whatnot, so I can read. Of course, now I'm not working at that job, and where my current job is, I really can't take a bus due to the distance and whatnot. So that's the one thing I say I miss, is just sitting on the bus and reading when I'm going to work. But you know what? It is what it is. You can't change certain things sometimes. So you just have to roll with the punches. I know I have one book that I've been working on to read, and it's taken me almost 2 years to read this book, but eventually I will read it. I will, trust me, I will. But all in all, 3:30's up, hours up. I'm gonna let everyone go. Enjoy your Saturday. I hope your weekend ends up being great. I'm gonna see about trying to get some yard work done before it starts raining out here. This is Aaron from Simon & Simon Art. We will be back on Monday at 7 p.m. We will see you there. I don't know what the topic of discussion is going to be but I'll talk with Arlie about it. And we'll continue on with the sketch that I'm doing. And I hope to see you there. Have a blessed weekend, and thank you for joining. Peace. See you guys. For those of you who join us on Instagram, same thing. Thank you for joining. See you next time.